Alright guys, this is Captain Alex Mason here, and I think we're on the final chapter for the Call of Duty World War II Field Manual. Sorry, as my voice cracked. And this next chapter is Deadly Ground, the environments, locations, and terrain of war. So, the introduction. The war for Western Europe has begun. That and you're about to get smoked, he annotates. Lessons learned from previous engagements will provide invaluable insights, while advanced knowledge of combat settings will allow for a better strategic planning and better chances of success. Lesson 1. Don't die. No matter the setting, the same basic rules of combat apply. Secure the area, gain and maintain the initiative, engage with and destroy the enemy, communicate effectively, underlined, and care for the wounded. What's that one? I don't understand. Oh my fucking god, you troll. And then he's got pictures of the battlegrounds, and he says, all the memories. I honestly don't. I think this is the Hurtgen Forest. And I believe this is, from the looks of it, it looks like the, yeah, this is like the D-Day, like during their beach landings. So, the Atlantic Wall. And he says, for years now, the United States and Soviet Union have wanted to create a second front in Europe. What about the British? With extensive campaigns waged in the Mediterranean theater of operations, with North Africa reclaimed from enemy hands, and with the Allied invasions of Sicily and Italy, there is an expectation on both sides that the Allies will once again look to open a long-desired second front. It's about damn time, he says. Let's see. Now, this is an interesting fact. Now, he's one of my favorite German generals, and I respect him heavily because he was one of the few members of the German Wehrmacht who did not wish to carry out any kind of orders against Jews. He was against anti-Semitism, and he never once chose to follow said orders if he was given them. And he has been given them a couple of times. In many cases, the geography itself prevents a challenging hindrance. Add to this the fact that late last year, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel was tasked with strengthening German army forces along the French coast. Minefields, landing craft, obstacles including wooden stakes, says, for vampire defense, Czech hedgehogs, barbed wire, and bunkers are just some of the obstacles to take into consideration for any potential beach assault. In Normandy alone, an Allied invasion force would be confronted with 3 to 4 infantry divisions with tank support and limited air support, numbering from 7,000 to 12,000 men each. Misinformation, we obviously won't be landing there if they're talking about it in this menu. Okay. That makes heavy sense. Or a lot of sense. So we have a picture of one of their kinds of defenses, which I'm assuming they could have easily gotten from spies or whatever, because these things did exist. French people, true fact, the French civilian populace, which oddly enough were able to get close enough to some of these areas, or at least try to, managed to sneak a few pictures for us, for Allied intelligence, and then sent them back in order for us to kind of get an understanding as to how the seawall had changed. So now we have another picture of the beach. It says, make no mistake, freedom will prevail over tyranny. Before this war is done, Allied forces will see northwestern Europe liberated from Nazi rule. And he just says, just show me the way. Now I'm thinking of that really, like, recent joke. This is not the way. I show you the way. We got the picture, another picture of the seawall. Ah, Pelly. One of my favorite. Honestly, this was like by far one of my favorite levels of the game. Oh, come on. Really? The US version has to have that? I'm disappointed now. Paris, France. I've been wanting to see Paris for a long time, he says. Food, tobacco, coal, and clothing are all rationed, and French newspapers and radio only print and transmit German propaganda. That's torture enough right there, he says. Their numbers, however, are growing. V for victory continues to appear on buildings and vehicles, and those willing to fight to retake their homeland have begun to rally. The time is now. Send those krauts packing, he says. We have a picture of the, I think, Gestapo headquarters in Paris, and another image, probably not by or over at the same location, but somewhere nearby. And then we have another picture of American infantry alongside an armored tank. Yeah, I can't speak today. Okay, here's where... wow. Urban warfare. Use tanks to eliminate outlying defenses, but don't let the tanks and infantry become separated. He says they get lonely. Let's see. Areas of operation should be assigned to each platoon or squad. Treat city blocks as a square. City blocks are a square, he says. Streets are deadly. Blow out locks of opposing doors or destroy doors with an M1 rocket launchers referenced in this manual before crossing a street. Don't forget to yell, knock knock. And we have a picture of the Aachen, or the city of Aachen, and the Stadt Theater. Stadt, if you guys don't know your German, just means city. So calling it the city, like, there was a point in the game where I think they said, we're going to the city's Stadt Theater or whatever. It's like, wait, did you just call it the City Theater? Or something along those lines, because it was really redundant to say. Alright, forest fighting. Oh, this was actually another fairly decent level design that I liked. Kudos to the player or developers who made this. Basically, forest fighting is scary as hell. I believe it. The German army cut through the Ardennes during the Battle of Dunkirk as well. I'm seeing a pattern here, he says. With the above considerations taken into account, a military advance moving through wooded terrain will stand a much greater chance not only of survival but of success. Save the trees. Oh wait, no, he says, while soldiers have been trained to hit the ground when artillery comes in, the best defense in a tree burst scenario is to hug the nearest tree. Save the tree. Okay, now that makes sense. And we have another picture of the Hurtgen Forest near the bridge that you're supposed to secure. And now this is, I think, the Ardennes Forest. You fight in one forest, you fought in them all, he says. Yeah, this don't look very pleasant. We've got another winter picture, and this. There's nothing like Christmas on the front lines freezing with your platoon, he says. Alright, and now we got a map. This is kind of cool. So we got a picture of the areas that the Allies are closing in on. So from here, the Allies at this point are already... Oh, they even say. Got a little... So the blue represents what they captured in July and September. And then the red indicates the territories gained from September to December. So at this point, the Russians on this side are already all the way up to here, and we are all the way like into these areas. Now what's that say? I'm trying to see what that says. Division depart. I don't know what that means. I think they made battles. But I don't see any of that here, which is weird. Alright, let's read the final thing. Now this is a letter from... oh, what's her name? Hazel Daniels, his wife. Darling, letters from home means so much more than you could ever know. Sometimes that's... oh wait, no, this is red. My bad. Sometimes that's all that keeps us going. I understand now why our division is called the Bloody First. I don't think they're actually called that, if I'm not mistaken. I've faced death day after day, and the victories come at such a terrible price. I've seen too many good and brave men die. When I signed up, they called me a farm boy. They called me Farm Boy, and they were right. I was just a boy who thought he could take on the world. But that boy's gone now. I've seen too much. When I fight now, it's not because I've got something to prove. I fight so I can survive. So I can come home to you, to family. I think about you and the life that's waiting for me, just about every minute of every day. I can't wait to see you. It won't be much longer now. It can't be. I love you. Red. And that is the end of the book. If you guys want to read the full thing, which I chose not to because, you know, I didn't want to be that kind of a person for this person who, or for the person who tries to sell these books, merchandise. I recommend you read it. I always get these things to try and get an understanding of the actual expanded universe and try and fill out any fan base theories, because I'm very involved in this franchise. I mean, you could obviously tell by the name of my YouTube channel and the types of videos that I have. So I try to be somewhat dedicated to the franchise, regardless of whether or not the games are bad games or if they're not my favorite. I still kind of talk about them. So, yeah, I guess you could say I'm a fanboy, but I do this for every game. With that being said, I'm Captain Alex Mason, and I'll see you guys in the next video.